us and is really interested in getting to learn more and hearing more of your thoughts today. And Adriana, I'd love for people to hear your wisdom. I'm always just blown away every time I have the pleasure of getting to speak from you and learn from you.
And thanks. So it's really nice to be here with all of you. It seems to have my mic on and you can see me, so this is great. So thanks for inviting me here to be with all of you. I'm going to share with you briefly, I hope, three key things. One, how the Metcalfe Foundation approaches its inclusive local economies work, what we have learned over the 10 years of our work, and finally, a reflection for our moment in time. So 8 years ago, I joined the Metcalfe Foundation as its Inclusive Local Economies Program Director. And while I came from a strong community development background, this terminology really intimidated me. I was like, what does it mean? Is it community development, but with economic development to it? What is the community economic development? What do we mean by inclusive local economies? You know, despite years of social justice work, I hadn't thought a lot about economic justice. And now that seems so obvious that economic interventions and economic innovations are needed if we want to imagine and build a more just, healthy, and creative society, which is Metcalfe's mission. Metcalfe believes that change happens when we bring hopeful visions of the future and when we work collectively and we think broadly in pursuit of comprehensive solutions. It is potent when people, ideas, strategies, sectors, and issues come together and connect together across our work. When the Inclusive Local Economies program evolved out of the Foundation's poverty reduction commitment 10 years ago, it came about as we thought about our strengths, our assets, and our hopes. We thought, how do we best carry what we know and what we have accomplished into the next phase of our work? How do we ground our work in an abundance mindset rather than a scarcity one? How do we focus on systemic issues and root causes while understanding the work is mostly incremental and that being a catalytic funder means being comfortable with the slow burn of change? Systems change takes time, and yet there is both an immediacy and an urgency to this work. We need to start now. At the Metcalfe Foundation, our Inclusive Local Economies program is focused on improving the economic livelihoods of low-income people in Toronto. So we're very place-based. Our focus is on the City of Toronto. We invest in long-term strategies focused on systemic issues that entrench poverty in our communities. What makes this work feel very new to me, though, is what we invest in. And its focus on is what we invest in. It's the focus on the economy and the labor market. If we want to eliminate poverty and see prosperity flourish, we need good jobs and decent work and good employment standards. We need neighborhoods that are preserving and investing in the assets that enable poor people to be part of their communities. We need to think differently about the bottom lines of business so that economic opportunity and economic dignity are as important as profit. And we need innovation and investment to create community wealth. For us, this has meant centering the voices and leadership of the working poor. They are those that understand and experience the issues that we seek to address. These are minimum wage workers, personal support workers, migrant workers, early childhood workers, indeed, as we have learned over the course of this pandemic, essential workers. How do we help support economic justice and economic dignity for these workers? That is what is at the heart of the Metcalfe Foundation. And as we dive deeper into the labor market, we know that these are mostly racialized people, with Black people being overrepresented in poverty because of anti-Black racism that is embedded in our workplaces, our communities, our institutions, and society, and the continual entrenchment of Indigenous poverty and displacement due to colonial policies and practices, and also anti-Indigenous racism. Our work at the Metcalfe Foundation supports the fight for a $15 minimum wage, paid sick days for all workers, changing policies to protect migrant workers, supporting local hiring strategies in neighborhoods, making employment trainings more effective for low-wage workers, taking deeply affordable housing stock out of the speculative market. And our work supports things like this, where you are today. Innovation that brings people together to share hopeful visions, to work and learn collectively in pursuit of comprehensive solutions. And we're excited to see about the questions you're going to ask and that you are asking now, the assets that you are exploring, and the reflections that you are pondering, and even the challenges you are facing. If it isn't hard, uncomfortable, or this big thing that I've learned, if your initial vision has not yet evolved, shifted, or changed, I encourage you to dig deeper, to listen deeper, to collaborate deeper, as those moments of discomfort or the changing often means you've hit a critical nerve, an issue, a root cause, the edges of innovation. And finding those nerves will help you do your work better and make it more impactful in the long run and have the change that I think we hope to work on in a hopeful economics. In closing, I want to say two things that I've learned personally over the years of the amazing privilege that I get to be being a catalytic funder and a strategic partner. I get to work with amazing people across the city of Toronto and hear about the realities of what working poverty looks like in the city and the systemic issues to address it. And what's great is it's not that we don't know what the answers are. We know what the solutions are. It's just getting the political and societal will to make it happen. So I want you to think about all forms of your assets and capital in your work, not just the financial capital and assets. I think that's what we think of first, the money, our financial assets, but you have other forms of capital that are equally potent. You have social capital. What are the gifts, strengths, networks, and partnerships in your communities? How do you share these? How do you grow these? You have intellectual capital. What have you learned? Your strategy, your vision, your specificity. How do you share these and how do you deepen these? And who helps you deepen these? And you have patient capital. Oh, this is the biggest thing I think I offer as a foundation, patient capital. This work takes time. It is a slow burn. And so I say, start, be patient, nurture the soil to shape and seed what grows. And secondly, as someone who grew up learning about social justice and oppression, humility and vocation and community through my faith and through my church, I encourage you to think about social enterprise and social innovation as a road towards justice, not charity. It's not about who you want to serve. I think that is charity, and I think the church does that pretty well. It's about who you want to center. Therefore, ask yourself, who is currently at the margins of your work? And how can we center those voices to lead, inform, and ground the work? And by centering them, it often means that we have to decenter ourselves. This is hard, and it continues to be a struggle at our foundation, and it continues to be a struggle, and yet is so critical to the vision. But this is the hard work that truly makes our economy inclusive. So I'm really excited about all the things that you're talking about and the people that are in the room. And I really look forward to seeing the outcomes of these conversations and what grows in the soil that you begin to fertilize. Thanks very much.
Oh my goodness. Thank you so much for those words. Thank you for being here. Thank you for your participation, but most of all for the way in which you have answered the call to impact Toronto. We